Welcome to Grassroots to Bluegrass Volume 2. Listen in as Carlton Haney, the originator of the festival concept, extraordinary showman Little Roy Lewis, and bluegrass purist Melvin Goins share personal memories from the early days and learn how that first taste of bluegrass shaped their lives and created a lifelong love affair. Share now in remembrance of Grandpa Jones as the love and respect vibrate like the strings on Ramona's fiddle.
Mac, I bet you nobody in this room can tell me the first bluegrass record ever recorded in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, I can because you told me, but right. I wasn't aware of it till you did tell me.
I think I got Eddie.
I think it's Rocky Top, wasn't it?
Anybody know the first bluegrass record ever recorded in this city? It was October the 22nd, 1949. Mac Wiseman and Bill Monroe recorded Sweetheart of Mine, Can't You Hear Me Calling, Traveling This Lonesome Road. The last four Columbia Records songs. All the others on Columbia were recorded in Chicago with Platt and Scruggs in them. Yeah. The first bluegrass record ever recorded in this city was Mac Wiseman, Bill Monroe, Rudy Lyle,
Jack Thompson.
Jack Thompson, and the fiddle player was
Chubby Wise.
Yeah. And that was on a Monday, October 22nd, 1949. And that Saturday night they played the Opry, was Bill Monroe's 10th anniversary on the Grand Ole Opry. He was in Nashville for 10 years on the Opry before he got the man he wanted to sing with him and record in Nashville.
I would say something if I could.
Yes.
I remember the first time I ever saw Bill Monroe in person. We had heard him on the radio down in Lincolnton, Georgia, like everybody else telling about the radio stories. But I never will forget the first time I saw Bill Monroe, Pop and my sister, all my sisters and brothers. We went to a little town 13 miles from us called Washington, Georgia. And I never will forget, every time I go by that building right now, I get that same feeling that I had that night in 1949. I saw Mac Wiseman, Chubby Wise, and Don Reno that night. I don't know who the bass player was. I was interested in more banjo picking than anything. But I remember going back and seeing Bill Monroe's car that he rode in, and also Don Reno had a convertible 49 Ford, and I thought that was the best thing I ever seen in my life.
It was, baby.
So I saw it right after it was recorded, didn't I?
I'll tell you something else famous that happened on that night, too. Just a little bit later, a week later, Martha was born.
Roy, you've got a story about watching for Flat and Scruggs' bus that I want you to tell. When you used to ride your bicycle to...
Okay. We still live on the Highway 378. Before Interstate 20 was built down in Georgia, we still live on the road 378. It was the highway that all the truckers and everybody would use. And back in the old days, I think it was around 55 or 56, Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, they had that television show. And I understand it was in Chattanooga, in Atlanta, in Florence, South Carolina, and I don't know where it went then. But I remember Janice came home from school one day, and she said Donna Sue Deason saw Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs' bus come through Lincolnton. Well, we would always watch them on Tuesday night in Atlanta. And another day, about 2 or 3 weeks later, Pop said, I saw a bus come through, had Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs wrote on it, Martha White, Self-Rising Flower, and it just went through a few minutes ago. Well, that was on Tuesday again, you know. So I got to thinking about that thing. Now, we watch them on Channel 5 in Atlanta, and they always do a program at the, after they get through with the television program, so they must be coming down 378. So I packed a lunch, got up early one morning, rode my bicycle 2 miles up to the road, and I waited 4 hours. And I could see that bus top the hill, and I had all these things in mind that what I was going to do and all this kind of stuff. And I sat there, and as the bus went by, I wouldn't wave because I was scared they'd stop. And I'd get out there and smoke. I'd get out there in the road and smell the diesel smoke after it's gone. I never did stop them, but for weeks and weeks, I'd ride up every Tuesday to watch Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs just go by.
That's it.
Roy, what?
That's fine.
Roy, when was that? What was you, 26 at that time?
Lord have mercy.
Speaking of Mac Wiseman, I'd like to mention something about Mac Wiseman. This fellow's sitting here in front of me here. It's been 50 years since I've seen this man sitting in front of me with the fiddle. First time I ever seen Mac Wiseman, Jimmy Shumate, Cedric Rainwater, Lester Earl was at Glenwood Park in Princeton, West Virginia. And they was back, I never forget, they was riding an old Ford station wagon. I think the station wagon belonged to Mac.
No, that's Lester.
Was it Lester's?
Yeah,
well, anyway, I seen him
Shumate.
come riding in with that station wagon with the old bass. And Lester and Earl, back in the days, they wore, you remember the leggings, the riding pants and the leggings, they wore the big old ties, you know, and the hats. Yeah. And Mac was singing, I believe you were singing tenor at that time. God loves you, children, we're going to make heaven my home. And Mac was singing tenor with flat back in the days, I believe, if I'm correct on this. If I'm not, you can correct me. And it's always laid in my mind how active this fellow was. I know Lester called him Jumping Jimmy Shumate when he jumped around on the stage. And I always enjoyed his fiddle playing. That was back, and I was sitting on an old chestnut stump there, and a little old stage was right out next to the road, and it cost 75 cents to get in to see him. And I rode a bus and a streetcar for 20 cents and 10 cents on the streetcar to Princeton, and I had a peanut butter sandwich and a jar of grape Kool-Aid for my dinner. And I watched them put on the show that day, and then I went back home, and I thought, that's what I love. It was Glenwood Park in Princeton, West Virginia, 1948.
That bug bit you that day, didn't it?
Oh, it sunk me deep.
I bet a lot of people in here don't know that when String Bean quit, Bill Monroe said, we got to have another banjo player. And he told the fiddle player, do you know one? He said, yeah, I know a boy from up Shelby. He said, is he good? Yeah, he's pretty good. He said, well, I'd love to hear him. And he called him and got in touch with that boy and had him to come and try out for Bill Monroe. The fiddle player was named Jim Shumate. The banjo player that he got Bill Monroe to hire was Earl Scruggs.
Yeah.
You banjo players, if it wasn't for that man there, you may not be playing banjo today.
Well, look around the room here, you probably
I don't believe I'd have told that.
seen some faces that you haven't seen in a long time. But when Larry Black and I first got to talking about this concept of putting a bluegrass show together, much like the country reunion shows, the most prevalent question I'm asked as I go around, have been for a number of years working the colleges and a number of other venues, is the younger people in particular come up and say, we know what it is, but where did it come from? So I was, in putting this group together today, tried to bridge that gap a little bit and make a little educational project out of it, so to speak. So I got as many as possible of the people who did the original mountain music, and which later evolved into what is known as bluegrass music today, up in the 50s when we needed some kind of a name for the acoustical kind of music we were sticking to when rock and roll became so prevalent. So that's what we've done. We've got Walter Bales of the Bales brothers here, Jeanette Carter, daughter of the A.P. Carter, who was one of the founders of this music. Ramona Jones is here with us, and all these folks are going to show you some of their wares in just a little bit. And the fellow sitting over here next to Carlton, that young whippersnapper, is Papy Cheryl, and he was with the hired hands down in South Carolina and a number of other places. So you've got a lot in store here today, and a lot of these younger folks who look like old timers to you today learned a lot of their trade from the ones I just mentioned a while ago. Well, J.D. Crowe's been unusually quiet so far, but I think we ought to put a stop to that right now. J.D. is a fine banjo player. I first knew J.D. Back in the 50s. His dad brought him to me in Richmond, Virginia on the Old Dominion Barn Dance. He was just a young whippersnapper at that time. You were only 16 or 17, were you, J.D.?
That's about right.
Yeah. And
I was too young to remember.
we were playing about 300 one-nighters a year back then, and I don't know whether I was a bad paymaster or fella to work for, or whether he didn't like the pace of things.
Well, if you remember, though, because I was still in school at that time. Yeah. And this is during the summer when you was out on vacation, school vacation. And, payment, you did good. For back then, This was after.
He paid about as good as Carlton did.
No,
No.
and I thought you two were buddies.
We are. We love each other.
No, that was probably one of my first exposures to playing with the Bluegrass band. And Mac, I was like, what, 16,
Something
17? And in the band at that time, if you remember, was Benny Williams
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and another fiddle player named Curtis Lee.
Was he?
And myself and you, and that was the Country Boys.
That's right. I didn't carry a bass back then because you had to tie 'em on the top of the car, you know. And I always had a rack up there full of songbooks. I didn't.
Yeah, I know that. I remember
I didn't have room
well
for
how,
no bass.
yeah, I remember well. Get them songbooks after the show and get out in that audience. But that was great. That was, I had a lot of fun, and that was some good experience there.
You were a good man. You've done well through the years, and give us a little sample of what you do with the banjo there, will you?
Well, let's see. I'll do one that's just been recently released on a new CD. It's an old number. It's been around for years, and called Careless Love.
Hey, that's a dandy. Love, oh, careless love. Clean as a hound's tooth. Fine, J.D. See, that's on your new CD? That's great. Just to show you a little contrast between banjo picking, there's a fellow sitting right behind you there that has carried on the tradition of Uncle Dave Macon. In fact, he's going to be honored as Grand Marshal of the Uncle Dave Macon Days, I believe, this year. Ramona and I both have had that pleasure, haven't we, Ramona? Last year was my turn in the barrel, but Grandpa and Ramona were down there several years ago. This young man's name is Leroy Troy, and he's a big favorite on all the folk festivals and the bluegrass festivals, and does some of Uncle Dave's antics, twirling the banjo and jumping up and down. Got to tell you that everybody, I think, has had a most embarrassing moment in show business, and Uncle Dave was mine. I came here in around Easter time in 1949 to work with Bill Monroe on the Grand Ole Opry, and Uncle Dave and Kirk McGee were part of Bill's show at that time. and they were traveling in Kirk's car. So Bill said to me, watch the show carefully for a few nights, and I want you to open the show after that. So for 2 or 3 nights, we went out for about 20 days up in Illinois around big auditoriums. So about the third night, Bill said, you go out and open the show and do a few songs and bring Uncle Dave and Kirk on. So I was wanting to make good, of course, and standing in the wings waiting for Uncle Dave to get through with his part and get up and take that bow and twirl that banjo. That's the way he'd done it every time before. When he did that, I want to run out, let's give Uncle Dave a big hand. He looked at me and said, I ain't done yet, son. You talk about a feller wanting to hold it, open up so you could fall in it. It was a long walk back off that stage. Leroy, do something for us. When you got that, Jim?
I was going to tell you, Ronald and Uncle Dave, me and him, he used to stand right close to each other on the stage there at the Opry. And one night, when I got through, I had to have a sling in my fiddle bow like this.
Yeah.
And we went ahead, Eddie Arnold was standing over here, and Bill, Jimmy's dad was standing here. And all of a sudden, somebody tapped me on the shoulder. And I looked at his Uncle Dave. He said, look at here what you did to the old man's hand. And I looked, and sure enough, I'd cut his hand with the end of my fiddle bow, and it was bleeding. I said, Uncle Dave, I'm sorry, man. He said, I forget it. The old man tough as a darn pine knot. Didn't hurt a bit.
But he wanted you to know you done it, didn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to know.
Leroy, what you got for us? Have you got an Uncle Dave song or one that you read or what?
Well, let's see here. How about something like Jesse James?
Oh, that's a dandy.
Key of C.
I don't know whether these fellas know those new songs or not.
Mac, can I say something to Mac?
What about it,
Is this
Patsy?
going to take long?
Well, yeah, it's going to take a little while. he twirls the banjo, and he's afraid to with me sitting here, afraid he'll hurt me. And he needs a little bit more space there.
Well, would you mind leaving? I want to see him
I'll
twirl the
go.
banjo.
I'll go.
I'm teasing, Patsy. Hey, why don't you jump out here in the middle of the floor?
I think y'all wait and cut the monkey shine later. I'll just sing and play
Oh,
right
I see.
now.
All right. Okay.
Here's C. Jesse James. Jesse James was a man who killed many a lad. He robbed the Glendale train. He stole from the rich and he gave to the poor. He had a hand, a heart, and a brain. Poor Jesse had a wife that mourned for his life. 3 children, they were brave. But the dirty little coward that shot Mr. Howard done laid poor Jesse in his grave. It was on a Friday night, the moon was shining bright. They robbed the Glendale train, and the folks they did say were many miles away. It was robbed by Frank and Jesse James. Poor Jesse had a wife that mourned for his life. 3 children, they were brave. But that dirty little coward that shot Mr. Howard and laid poor Jesse in his grave. It was on a Wednesday night when Jesse was at home, but talked with his family brave. Mr. Ford came along like a thief in the night and laid poor Jesse in his grave. Poor Jesse had a wife that mourned for his life. 3 children, they were brave. But that dirty little coward that shot Mr. Howard and laid poor Jesse in his grave.
He was awful laugh there. Also played that kind of drop from banjo too, don't y'all?
I watched every move made.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Matt, could I tell you
That's
something
funny.
about Leroy? The first time I got to meet him was several years ago down at Merle Fest, a big festival down in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And,
Yeah.
and we got up one morning, and of course this festival, I mean, draws 10, 15,000 people a day, and all these acts were appearing on the main stage up here, and folks kept gathering in. And all of a
Is this
sudden,
something that I want to hear?
it's a good enough story. It won't make you any extra money or anything, but here directly we kept seeing these people just kind of floating off to the side, off to one end of what appears to be a baseball field up there, and before you know it, there's probably about 600-700 people from the main stage just kind of gathered over there by the middle of the afternoon. Directly there's close to, I guarantee, close to 1,000 folks, and all of a sudden the folks on the main stage kept wondering what was going on, and everybody looked over, and there was Leroy sitting right in the middle of them, twirling that banjo and carrying on just like that, just the greatest thing in the world, and knew that he was the coming thing right then and there.
I can believe every word of
like
that.
I always say, it don't take much to entertain a bunch of hillbillies.
You know what he said a while ago? He said, they must be going to save me the life because I'm the youngest one here.
That face wore out two bodies.
I said I was more full of energy.
Ain't what you said, because I'm the youngest.
Leroy did?
Yeah, Leroy, we called him Troy then.
Yeah.
Hoss Williams put the Leroy on it, didn't he?
He sure did.
Yeah, he named him Leroy. But anyhow, he went to Holland with us in '82, and so we was discussing it with his dad, about getting permission to take him. He was just about 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And we said we want to take him to Holland, and Troy said, "What state is that in?" And we was up at Summersville, and Melvin Goins knows about this, I think. He's up there a lot, him and his brother. But anyhow, we was up at Summersville, and we always did feature Troy. We did mostly gospel as far as our group was concerned, but we always did feature him playing the fiddle and then dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's some people over at the next door to the stage that was serving Troy watermelon, and he didn't know when to quit. he come back up, and I introduced him. I said, "Now Troy's going to play the fiddle, and then he's going to dance for us." And when it come time to dance, he didn't dance. I said, "Dance, Troy." He laid the fiddle down and said, "I gotta go."
Too much watermelon, huh?
I remember that.
He said, "If I don't go, I'll do a childish thing."
Yeah. Oh.
Troy, I thought you told me your real name was Leroy.
I don't remember telling you
you
that.
told me that, son.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I probably
you
did, but I don't
asked
remember.
Anyway, Troy does just the greatest Uncle Dave Macon. With the twirling, throwing the banjo up in there like Dave did. We saw Uncle Dave in 1947, I think it was, in Dayton, Ohio, Memorial Hall. And he did that thing with the banjo, throwed it up in there, and he'd throw that thing up and catch it. And the only guy I ever saw do that was Troy.
He's got him down, boy.
Yeah, he sure has. Another interesting thing, and John, you know this, and you may know the answer to this. I don't. Uncle Dave always called Earl Scruggs Ernest. Did you know that? And I don't know. I've asked Earl several times, and Earl said, "I don't know why he called me that." But he never would call Earl. He called him Ernest.
Remember Earl? That's why.
Oh, I think it's people that he didn't like that he called Ernest. He told, what was it? He told Earl. He said, "You sure can play the banjo, but you're not a bit funny." He called him Ernest.
Yeah. The fellow was telling us first story there about Leroy, Walter Bales, who we're glad to have with us here today. He was part of the Bales brothers who had some big hits through the years. And Walter, Mother Nature's been good to you. You still got that young look, buddy.
Thank you, Mac, but I call him the Lord. Been good to me.
Excuse me. Well,
In fact,
that
about
right.
14 months ago, the doctor didn't give me any chance to live, but prayer brought me through it, and I just thank God for it.
I thought you was going to say you didn't have money to pay the doctor, so he gave you a little more time.
He gave me more time, yeah. Yeah. I heard Boxcar Willie do that.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Have you got a good song for us?
Well, I hope it's a good one. It's been around a while. I wrote it back in 1942. And I wrote it from a message that I heard preached in a little store basement church. Mm-hmm. Minister's name was Willard Carney in 1937. And that thought stayed with me. I couldn't get away from it. And 5 years later, in Huntington, West Virginia, where we were featured at that time, I sat down and wrote this song. Now, there's a little story that goes behind it. I'm going to try to make it brief, though.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
This song, when I first wrote it, John Hartford, when I first wrote this song, the second verse I wrote out of meter. But I didn't know what meters was, you know. I thought it was something they turned off if you don't pay the bill, you know. But I wrote it out of meter, and we recorded it that way, and that's the way it made a hit.
Well, I hate to interrupt you, but why did you point this out to John?
Well, John Hartford's my buddy. You mentioned East St. Louis a while ago.
He was out of meter. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
No. You mentioned East St. Louis. That's where John got acquainted with me out on the radio
I'm
there.
sorry,
he told me about it. John
I
Hartford.
wrote a lot out of meter. I've been out of meter most of my life.
I remember one time I was talking to John over in front of Showbud, Shot Jackson's store, and John said, if you'll go over with me, I'm going over to the Exit Inn and play, and said, I'll just forget my schedule and we'll sing all Bales Brothers songs because I know every one of them.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I want to do this song. Uh-oh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's out of tune.
Yeah.
Can I have time to tune?
Yeah. Take your time. Yeah.
Remember the time Grandpa Jones broke a string on Hee Haw? And he thought he was...
Why don't you just give the folks an imitation of Country Boy tuning the guitar?
That's not bad, is it?
It ain't good.
Not good. I'll tell you what, I'll let Gene Wooten cover up for me and take off for me, Dust on the Bible. I went into a home one day to see some friends of mine. Of all the books and magazines, not a Bible could I find. I asked them for the Bible. When they brought it, what a shame. The dust was covered over it, not a fingerprint was plain. Dust on the Bible, dust on the holy word, the words of all the prophets and the sayings of our Lord. Of all the other books you'll find, there's none salvation holds. Get the dust off the Bible and redeem your poor soul. Take it, buddy. Take it up, Jesse. You can read your magazines of love and tragic things, and not one verse of scripture do you know, when it is the very truth and its contents good for you. Dust on the Bible will doom your poor soul. Dust on the Bible, dust on the holy word, the words of all the prophets and the sayings of our Lord. Of all the other books you'll find, there's none salvation holds. Get the dust off the Bible and redeem your poor soul. Play it, Sonny. Sing along with me. Dust on the Bible, dust on the holy word, the words of all the prophets and the sayings of our Lord. Of all the other books you'll find, there's none salvation holds. Get the dust off the Bible and redeem your poor soul. Get the dust off the Bible and redeem your poor soul.
That's fine, Walter. I don't know how many folks know that Walter's also a minister.
Yes.
And, I was very impressed that the way you conducted Shot Jackson's funeral. I was there.
Well, thank you, Mike.
I've been aware of the fact that you were a
We
minister.
loved old Shot.
Yes.
He was our man.
You put him away in fine style. You sure did.
Well,
The lady on your right there contributed a little information to me back when I was calling everybody to get them together for this, and she was wanting to know who else was on the show, and I was running down the list, mentioned your name. She said, "Oh, I'm glad to hear that." Said,
I was glad to see her name on there, too.
"Yeah, because she was working with you when she and Grandpa got married."
That's right. He proposed to her on one of our tours, and they got married on the next one.
Is that right?
And they took a whole night honeymoon up in Kentucky.
No kidding.
Just one day.
And Grandpa said, I was so nervous when we went to that hotel, I signed everybody's name but John Bales.
This is Ramona
Leroy,
Jones.
Troy, I've got to tell you this about him and Grandpa. I introduced Leroy Troy to Grandpa always over in Douglasville at one of the stores over there. I won't say Kmart because they don't pay me for saying it, you know, but that was it. But anyhow, I told Grandpa, I said, I want you to meet this boy here. I said, he likes the old time style. He likes the Grandpa Jones style, string bean, Uncle Dave Macon. I said, he don't care a thing about this modern country. Grandpa said, I don't even listen to it. Is it still on?
Mac,
Something I started to say a while ago, just before I want to clear it up because I said something and then it sounded like I was butting in, but one of the things that I remember Grandpa saying, and you was having trouble with your B string a minute ago.
Yeah.
Grandpa used to say, and I won't say it in the exact words that Grandpa used to say, it was this, Dad blamed the man that invented the B string.
Mac, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Bales brothers, too. I started working with them in about 1945, wasn't it? They were on the Opry and very, very popular, and we're getting mail. I'm telling you, bags of mail, you know. Well, Johnny hired me to play bass fiddle for them for $60 a week. I remember that. That was okay back then, you know, $60 a week wasn't bad. Well, anyway, I went on the road with them 1 week, and when I came back, in the meantime, I had played a fiddle tune, and I sang harmony in your trio sometimes. And Johnny said, "Boy, you're worth more than that, and we'll give you $75 a week." And I never did get 60 a week. I got $75 a week.
Well, that speaks for itself, doesn't it?
That was great, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
We loved Ramona and Grandpa. They're just part of our lives, always have been.
That's true. We got married up in Kentucky when we were working a tour in Kentucky, I believe, and Grandpa was from Henderson, Kentucky, and we got married in Henderson, and we weren't missing but one day. Is that right?
Right.
Just one day.
But where was it that my wife Frankie and myself and you and Grandpa got stuck somewhere one time and spent almost all night in the car?
Probably Alabama. We played a lot of dates in Alabama. I know
Yeah,
that. We
yeah.
played so many courthouses. I always
But
remember
it-
playing courthouses.
Anyway, I remember Grandpa would turn the ignition on, let it warm up a little bit, and then we'd all go back to sleep. Well, I took a chill. Lord, I mean to tell you, I was just shaking. And he woke me up and said, Walter, wake up. You're shaking the whole car. Of course, I had a little snoring in with it, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
You was talking about Grandpa and country music. He told me one time he was driving down the road and he thought he was listening to Oak Ridge Boys Quartet record, and it turned out it was a wheelbarrow.
That's a good.
Everybody tells their favorite grandpa story.
Right.
I thought I had one I could tell you today.
Okay, tell me.
I know a lot of them, but just this one I'll tell you. One time we were on the Friday night, I believe they called it Frolic, maybe it was the Opry on Friday night up in the old WSM studios, and Wilma Lee was there, and Stoney had been sick, and Grandpa had been out with, he'd had a gallbladder operation. So Wilma Lee got up and said, of course, we love him. I want to say that before I tell this story. Grandpa said, well, I've been gone, and said, I guess I want to thank the people. We got about 50 cards and letters, you know, while I was gone. And I would appreciate that and want to tell everybody. So Wilma Lee came up soon, and Stoney had been sick with a heart attack. Grandpa had had a gallbladder operation and just getting back. And so Wilma Lee said, well, I too want to thank everybody out there. She said, Stoney's had a heart attack, and we just got baskets full of mail. We got 2 or 3 baskets full of mail. And Grandpa said, well, heart attacks always did draw better than gallbladder operations.
I can believe that.
I heard that Grandpa George McCormick had driven up and down the same street 2 or 3 or 4 times trying to find a show date. Finally, Grandpa turned to George and said, George, you're starting to wave.
Yeah. Just getting acquainted with you.
Down at the Opry one time, I got, this is at the old Ryman, and I got Grandpa back in one of those dressing rooms, and I said, Paul, I want you to show me how to play that banjo, the claw hammer, thing like that. But I'd be glad to. And so he got back there and he showed me. I just don't have that coordination to do that. I'd give anything if I could, but I just don't have that coordination to do it. And I tried, and Grandpa looked up at me and he said, well, you can do that. I said, I'm having a hard time with it. And he took the banjo and he hit a few more licks on it, and he showed me exactly how to do this back here, but I just can't do it. Just flat out can't do it. And boy, I told him, I said, Paul, I just can't do that. And he jumped up and he said, well, I'll tell you right now, any man that can do what you're doing back here and can't do that, there's something bad wrong with him. And he said, I don't believe you want to bad enough, and he walked out. And never mentioned it again.
Ramona is a renowned fiddler in her own right. You won at Shelburne, Ontario in the fiddlers contest, did you, Ramona?
Yeah, I won second, but I'll have to say it was in the ladies division. But they have some wonderful fiddlers up there. Then I went back again, Mac. Another year I went back and I won third. And after that I didn't go back because I was going downhill. That's my last.
That's smart. But I remember just a few years ago you left Norris and went to out in the Northwest somewhere.
Oh, I went to Washington State. That wasn't exactly a contest. It was a wonderful event out there. I stayed 10 days, and they taught fiddle, and they did have everybody who was in your class got to be on the stage one time. Mm-hmm. So you had to teach them a tune you knew. Ooh. And so, but the folks in my class were more interested in Carter family songs. That's what they wanted to know. And I taught them The Storms Are on the Ocean and one little fiddle tune, and that's what my class did on the stage, and they were so proud to do that. I was proud of them. It was a wonderful event. I hope I can go back someday.
Oh,
it was in Washington State.
Well, I was just pointing those couple of things out because you're certainly known in your own right for your fiddle work as well as having worked with Grandpa, of course.
Well, I enjoy it. I don't play like all these fiddlers, but I enjoy it more than they do.
I enjoy it
I still
much.
Enjoy it.
You going to do the Canadian tune now?
Well, I'll do that one I told you. You said you had it in your publishing company. So
yes, that's the reason I was wanting to do that.
Mac's my buddy.
No.
Do you want me to play it now, Mac?
Yeah, if you will.
Okay.
This is really a good tune. I recorded Tommy Jackson, as you recall, quite a bit, and we used up all the fiddle tunes we could think of in the States. So I went to Canada and got a few of these, like Snowshoe you're going to do there.
Oh, I didn't know it came from Canada.
Yeah, Grandma's Chickens and Whiskey Before Breakfast and some of those old tunes. So when she mentioned this the other day, that was before I told her it was in my publishing.
Yeah. Not sure about that.
Oh, anytime you're ready. Does the orchestra know you're...
The band's going to play with me.
Hey.
I hope you'll play loud. It's in the key of D.
Oh, that's fine, Ramona. That sounds like Saturday night to me, I'll tell you. That's fine. We'll have to have more of that a little later here. Just show the different kind of styles with fiddlers. I think we ought to call on a fellow on the back row over there. He's been unusually quiet, but it doesn't look anywhere near the 84 years he claims that he's been messing around with the fiddle, or had been here on this earth anyhow. This is Papy Cheryl, and he...
You're just not close up. He looks 84 from over here, man.
Oh, does I saw the good side of him. He's a good friend of Eddie's. That's the reason Eddie's speaking on. But I was so pleased that Papy could come to be with us. He used to work with Snuffy Jenkins in the Hired Hands, and got many stories you could tell. Papy, you got anything special you want to tell the folks?
Poor fellow up there near the home there was a nursing home. And I go down occasionally playing the different ones, and I love to play for those people who can't get around too well. And Uncle Joe lived down there just a little way from me in a nursing home. So I wanted to go do something to make him cheer up a little bit. So I decided to take my old fiddle and go down there with him. I did. I went down and greeted Uncle Joe, and I said, "How you doing?" "Well, I'm doing fair." So I got my fiddle out, and I said, "Would you like an old fiddle tune?" "Yeah, you can bring one." And so I got it out and fiddle, and it was about noon when I went there. And I happened to look at my watch, and it was after 3 o'clock, and I'd been sitting there fiddling all that time. I done wore him out. And I said, "Uncle Joe, I got to be going now. It's getting kind of late here." I said, I said, "Uncle Joe, I hope you get better soon." He says, "I hope you get better, too." So I took my fiddle and went on.
Yeah. Oh, tell us about the old days when you were with the old Hired Hand, and that's the name of the group too, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, it was.
The Hired Hand, yeah.
Yeah, Snuffy Jenkins and I met on the Crazy Water Crystal show years ago in WBT. And we played together 51 years.
Good gracious.
And he was a great banjo picker. He'd done the claw hammer. He'd do all three kinds on it. Yeah. Real good. So he was a real good fella, and I had a great time. And I want to say this year's been, I've enjoyed this so much. I'm so grateful to be able to be here, and I thank you for
Wonderful.
it.
Oh,
It
that's
sure
great.
This means a lot to older pickers as we go along. We get to see how things progress along, but it's good to know these old-time fiddle tunes and all kinds of banjo and guitar, because it's fading away if we don't watch it. It's get away from us.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of them passing along pretty fast.
Yeah.
So it's always good to hang in there and keep going. That's one reason, I guess, between me and the good Lord, that I've been here today.
Yeah.
I've played the fiddle all during those years and played for all kind of fairs, churches and things, and I just enjoy it.
That's great.
I'm very, very thankful.
Oh, I think that has a lot to do. Fella's doing what he likes to do and make a living at it too. He's playing on company money, ain't he? Yes, sir.
I have an old,
Yeah.
it's an old fiddle tune that hadn't been played, I know it today, but anyhow, it goes way back over 100 years ago. It's called Love of Britches.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. You going to do that one for
I'll
us?
do it if you like.
Hot dang, that's good.
All right, somebody give me a G here.
All right, about a G, boy. Papy Cheryl. close to the real thing there, Pappy. Yes, that's great. Thank you, Pappy. We'll have to have more of that before this is over with. But while we're on kind of a Saturday night kick or a fiddle kick here, I think we ought to go one more round here with another fiddler. This young man sitting right across the room from me here. I was so pleased when he said he could come and be with us, because he and I both were part of the original Foggy Mountain Boys back in 1948. And
goes back a long way.
yeah, we just counted up a while ago. That's kind of dodging over into 51 years, Jim, you know. So, yeah, that's right.
I must have been about 8 or 10 years old then. So.
Lester and Earl and Cedric left Bill all at the same time, and you'd been a fiddler with Bill earlier, before. What fact you mentioned earlier that you were responsible for Earl coming to Bill.
That's right. I was working with Bill back in 45, I reckon it was.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this must be a first. I've been wanting to tell this a long time, to let people know.
You go right ahead.
This is my chance, right?
Yes, sir.
No, just kidding. I had listened to the Grand Ole Opry ever since I was from a kid on up.
Mm-hmm.
Had a farm in North Wilkesboro and up in the mountains, and that was the thing, to listen to the Grand Ole Opry on a Saturday night. Of course, we didn't have a radio, but like the man said earlier, a fella down the foot of the mountain did have one. Everybody would gang in and listen to it. So I often wondered what it would be like to be at the Grand Ole Opry, to see that bunch of people. So when Howard Forster was playing fiddle for Bill, he went to the Navy. Bill called me. He had heard me on some radio shows, and so I was anxious to go. I said, yeah, I'll be glad to, Bill, because he is always my favorite man, Bill was. We got awful close those days. I was 22 and Bill was 32. And Jimmy, we run around together, just us two a lot. And we got close, like I say. But anyhow, when I got to the Opry, the day I got there, went down to the, hunted up the Opry where it was. And Bill, of course, met me outside, and we went in, and we was sawing around. He was back in the room, and he come back out. He said, Jim, you know my theme song? Now, keep in mind, I'd never been to Nashville, didn't know nothing about it. I said, yeah, I guess so. I've heard you play it enough. Why? We said, we got to open up the Opry tonight. Said, your fiddle will be the first thing that's heard on the Opry. Scared me to death, you know. Mm-hmm. So the checkerboard people had just about 30 minutes to the Opry, and they wanted on the early part. So that throwed us to do that. I was so scared. You know, then they just had a mic in the middle and one over here for the bass, and then one over here for the control man. Vito, the fellow, he said, now, young man, he didn't know who I was. I just got there. He said, when I do this, you hit that fiddle. And I mean hit it as soon as I did it. You know, all of you know the job no Vito. So that scared me even worse. So. But as luck would have it, the good Lord is on my side, like he has been all my life, really. So when he did, I hit the thing, and just tore the place up. They just gave me a tremendous hand. I remember Tommy Magnus said, I don't believe that boy's going to get it before that. So when I did that, the place just, they just blowed the roof off. And Lou Childrey said, Tommy, what was that you said a while ago? He said, whoa. But that was really something. And getting back to Bill, we was playing down through Mississippi, I believe it was. String Beans was picking banjo for us, and Sally Foster was playing accordion. We had a boy by the name of Andy Boyette. You remember him? Mac played the bass fiddle for us. And let's see, String was picking the banjo, and Sally and Andy and Flat was on the left flat picking the guitar. So String and Lou Childrey got fishing together out on Mississippi somewhere. Lou had it. We had him along extra. We'd take somebody extra each week. So Bill said they got getting pretty close, and they decided to get their own act on the Opry, just the two of them. And Bill said, Jim, we're going to have a banjo picker. You know anybody? I said, yeah. I had met earlier. I'd been doing a show in Hickory, And every guest would come by. A year or so late before, Earl had come by one night, and I made note of the people I liked when they'd come on my show. So I said, yeah, I know a boy, Shelby, North Carolina. He said, really, what's his name? I said, now, he don't pick nothing like string beans, but he can pick you a lot of banjo. He said, get a hold of him and see what we can work out. So I got a hold of Earl, and in the meantime, he'd come down to the two-lane hotel where we were staying, and Bill and me and him stood there in the room. I've had dozens of magazine people ask me if I could remember the tunes we played, but I can't remember any of them. But I mean, he turned that banjo away but loose. He did a good job. And so I come on back to North Carolina, and he took the job. Howdy'd come back from the Navy, and that the rest, of course, is history.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, John.
Now, if you want me to play something, I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was coming to that.
Play just a touch of that theme song like you played it the first night on the Opry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a theme.
Somebody give that run on the guitar.
C.
Oh, that's fine. That's
Can we
fine.
make requests?
Yeah.
Can we make requests?
Yeah.
Play, play Cabin in Caroline.
Cabin in Carolina. You remember that one?
Can you do that?
That was on that first session, wasn't it?
That's got to be one of the best fiddle braces ever.
Yeah.
Ever,
play,
ever,
play
ever.
us one, Jim. Yeah, you don't leave nothing out of Katy Hill, I'll
John,
tell you
you
that.
listen to this now. You might get a few extra licks. I've been listening to you, and I picked up some of your stuff, you know. Katy Hill.
Yeah. He said he... I believe you just teased us today, don't you, Sonny? Yeah. Yeah, he was on that first recording session with Flatt and Scruggs that we did for Mercury in the fall of '48.
Yeah,
You sung tenor on that, didn't you?
Yeah, We'll Meet Again, Sweetheart,
Yeah,
and God Loves His Children, Gonna Make Heaven My Home, and Cabin in Carolina is what was their fourth tune.
Yeah, Cabin
Yeah.
in Caroline. Let's see, Sweetheart, you done. Was it?
Can't you hear me
Someday
call-
we'll meet again, Sweetheart. What?
Yeah, We'll Meet Again.
Let's see.
Hey. Lord have mercy.
He's got the best little finger in the business.
Was that 50,
That's
51
great.
years? 51 years ago?
Yeah, that's
Eddie?
1948. Yeah, going on 51. Sure was.
Well, how important is
Great
that to all
times,
of us?
great times, great memories.
You remember how cold it was that morning we cut that up in Knoxville? I
No,
walked
was it
across
cold?
the street and the man said, the paper laying on the desk said 8 above zero this morning.
Good gracious life. I
Yeah.
would have got up if I'd have noticed that.
You wouldn't have got the record if you hadn't got up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished looking fella back there with the tie on, sitting between Melvin Goins and our good friend Dan Hayes, is a walking encyclopedia with about old time music, the people who've done it and when they did it and all that stuff. In fact, he scares me a little bit because I wish he didn't know that much about me, you know. But I'm speaking of Eddie Stubbs. I first knew Eddie back a few years ago when he was working with the Johnston Mountain Boys. In fact, we played a big show in Madison Square Garden, and Eddie and his band worked with me on that show. We had a huge show package there. Charlie Pride and the Alabama was there. I can't remember. No, I'll leave somebody out. But anyhow, we sold Madison Square Garden out twice, which I thought was very complimentary for a country music show. We were sponsored by Stetson Hat, and all of the name entertainers on the show, Stetson presented us with a beautiful white Stetson hat. We had our name embossed in the liner of it in gold. And somebody stole mine before I got out of the garden. We were on the first half of the show, and I went back to the dressing room, left my hat, went down to watch the rest of the show in the bleachers, came back to get my hat box. There wasn't anything there but the box. Apparently, they walked right in by security. We had security on the door, but they must have worn the hat out as they went. But anyhow, Eddie Stubbs is a renowned disc jockey on WSM and announcer on the Grand Ole Opry. Eddie, if you will, talk to us and play us something, would you please?
All right. First of all, Mac, I'd like to say what it is a real pleasure and an honor to be here in this room with all these people. Most of these folks in this room have made a lot of records that I've got in my collection that I learned from, and I feel like I'm in the presence, well, I am in the presence of greatness, but I'm in the presence of a lot of people that are heroes to me and have been mentors to me, and I respect all these folks here very, very much. And I was just taken aback. Backstage at the Grand Ole Opry a few weeks ago, Ray Price and Jimmy Dickens were in the dressing room. And it was just three of us in there talking, and Ray Price said to Jimmy Dickens, he said, these guys today in the business, these people today, they're making a lot of good music, and he said, they're making a lot of money, a lot more money than we ever made. But he said, by golly, we had all the fun. And I think the same could be said for the people in this room today. You all had all the fun, and I envy that.
Not much money, but lots of fun.
That's right.
Wait a minute. Who didn't make money? I may not make none, but I did.
I know.
Yeah, the promoters made all the money, Carl.
Eddie,
We just had fun, that's all.
Yeah. Who influenced you most of all with the fiddle playing? Did you have a special person that you liked? No,
Well,
you've told me you liked Tommy Jackson.
My dad got me started playing when I was 4 years old, and he was a big influence on me. But Tommy Jackson was a big hero to me, and Paul Warren and people like that.
Fiddling Arthur Smith.
Fiddling Arthur Smith. I liked a lot of his tunes.
Get your attention? Yeah.
Why don't we play one of his tunes right now?
Would you do that?
We've talked. Big Howdy Forster, he was a great fiddler. We could talk about, and Scotty Stoneman, Patsy's brother. They were Benny Martin. We could just absolutely. They're all great. Every one of them.
Smith.
They're all great players, and I've loved to. Yeah. I've loved all their playing, but we were talking about a lot of. Talked a lot about grassroots people today and pioneers, and fiddling Arthur Smith was certainly one of those. Let's try one of his tunes called "The Florida Blues" in the key of D.
Hey, that's a good one. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much. Very fine indeed.
And Tim Krause just loved it.
Oh, we heard some mighty fine fiddling on this volume, and it's good to see that the younger generation is carrying on the tradition. On Volume 3, we hear some A.P. Carter tunes. Tinette Carter, daughter of A.P. Carter, shares with us the beautiful sound of her auto harp as she plays and sings her father's song, Bury Me Underneath the Weeping Willow. You'll also be treated to the beautiful harmonies of the Lewis family. But first, listen in as three generations offer praise to each other.
You know, that's just like Monroe.
It is, same thing.
That's it.
Same thing.
It all started there.
And then Monroe's kids sitting over beside him.
That's right.
And Mac's son tenor on.
Right. I mean, that history that we grew up on.
I'm telling you, you know.
You hear all this.
And to be sitting in this circle.
But the same people that created this.
Among all this, you know, that's the thing. To be sitting within that circle and be a part of that establishment. It's just mind-boggling.
Oh, it is.
You know? And then I think Bobby and me, we've been at 45 years. I think, God, that's not.
Well, but it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we did a different little thing, but my goodness, it's where it started.
That's where it started.
There'll be people come along after we're going and say the same thing to what we're saying about Monroe, right?
Yeah. You don't think about it in that
No,
respect.
you
I
don't.
don't. I mean, I never think about it.
No, I don't think about it like that.
But I do those people, the ones that I listen to.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's just unreal. It's just unreal.
Hold all those guys in such high esteem.
I didn't think anything about it until I saw Shumate and Mac stand out there when I first got here. See Shumate and Mac stand out there talking together, and I thought, my God, Mac sung tenor on that, and he played the fiddle on it. And I couldn't stand it. It just really got to me. More than anything has in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody can play Katy Hill like that. He's got the best little finger on the fiddle. Still on Katy Hill. He don't play it as fast.
Makes one's day, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that makes the whole thing work.
It does. That right there did it all.
Just sitting there and watching it.
And then the stories about Grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
And him. Right there.
Yeah, you're right. All this.
You done a fine job. Good, man. But that's one thing about bluegrass. If you can sort of know what's going on. I do a lot of colleges and things, and they all have little bluegrass bands, you know. And some of them are good, man. They sound and really cut it. But I don't know. There's something about it that'll never get old. It'll never get old. You boys are right at the age now to really set the woods on fire. You got the stuff to do it with. Believe me.